Nicole O'Neill once said, when you find the courage to use your voice, it has the power to positively inspire and change the lives of others. It is one of the special gifts you have to offer the world. It is something to be cherished and championed, never hidden. And that is why we are here on Your Voice, Your Impact. I am the energetic EJ. I am a life and transformational coach, and I work with women aged 40 and above to turn their abandoned dreams into achievable goals by activating their voice for impact. I'm also a podcaster and an event host. On this show with me is
Great, so amazing. The goal of this show is to help people use their voices to create impact. I am a physicist and a life coach. What I do for my clients is I help them build systems to achieve their goals whilst having fun doing it. On this show, we discuss topical issues that can inspire you to move. Like, subscribe, and share. Welcome aboard. Hello, everybody. Okay, so one thing we have learned to do is to solve problems. Whichever way they come out, we'll solve it. It's a beautiful day, and I am super excited. EJ, I don't know, EJ, if you can hear us. Okay, good. All right, so it's a beautiful day, and I have a guest right on. No need to wait because we have taken a bit of the time, and EJ is somewhere around the corner. We're hoping that she's going to join us pretty soon. But while we're waiting for EJ to join us, I want to apologize because we are starting a bit behind schedule, but it's okay. The good thing is we're here, and that's what is important. We started this month celebrating women, and we are wrapping up. Ironically, in a way that would interest all of you. So if you're watching this today and you're a parent of a boy child, or you have boy children, you want to call all your friends because this is going to be a wonderful one. So without much ado, I see EJ in her shades. Do you have something to say, or we can just keep going on? Alrighty, I'm sure one beautiful thing, your voice, your impact is it's teaching me a lot of things, and I'm going to drop that in as we journey along. All right, Joan, how are you doing? Are you feeling good?
I am very well, thank you. I am so okay. Greetings from Uganda, East Africa. We are so awesome, and it is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Grace, and thank you, EJ, for having me here today.
You're very
I'm
welcome.
glad to have you. Are you able to speak up louder? It feels like you're sounding far. John, it feels like you're sounding far. I don't know why that is. So yeah, maybe you can speak up a bit louder so we can hear you clear. Thank you so much.
Okay, I will make it a little bit louder.
Okay, a little bit. That's better. It's a bit better. Thank you for coming. I mean, it's just crazy that today of all days, I was so looking forward to this, but something came up last minute, and I have to leave town immediately. Okay, I'm just going to ensure I do this. But I'm grateful, thank God for internet that we can do this anytime, anywhere, as long as we have good internet. And we actually also had a small technical issues earlier on. So that's why we couldn't come on at the exact time. But we're here now. Thank you for making time to be here. Thank you for Grace is just going to take the conversation right away, and I'll join you as soon as I get to a more settled place.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you so much, EJ. We're already missing you, but we know that you settle in and jump right into the conversation. And this was me last week. And that's one good thing about, when you're working, as a pair, if you're working together with someone, sometimes one person is having and the other person will pop in. This was me last week. Last week we had a conversation and I was in a new environment and it was just up and down. I couldn't get in. I was green with envy because I was enjoying the conversation, but I was behind, I was watching on YouTube. But it's a beautiful thing. And one thing we're going to be talking about, which is something that I am looking forward to, is empowering the boy child. This month, we've been talking a lot about women. We've been talking a lot about the power of women. And I would love for you to introduce yourself before we get into the conversation, properly. We're already into it. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Joan Salmon. I am Ugandan. East Africa is the region, and I am a parenting coach, empowering parents of preteen and teen boys to enable them to parent those boys very well. And why is that very important? It's important because in a world where it's women emancipation everywhere, and there is nothing really being said about the boy child, we are finding a crisis where the boys or the men that at least right now the Gen Z boys don't know how to handle the empowered girl. And that means society is suffering, marriages are suffering, and we are raising another generation of, I would say, fecal children that cannot stand up for themselves. And it starts from having men that are empowered to lead the family. Because whether we like it or not, the man will lead the family and the woman steps in when he is away or works as a helper. So for me, it's very pertinent that we empower our boys that they can step in and step in right.
I love it. I love it. I love this because, I mean, from what you just said, we have empowered women. Women, you go here, empower women, you go there, empower women. And
Mm,
because of that, guys growing up, young men growing up these days don't know. Before now, it used to be a case of, women were not this, for lack of a better way to put it, we're not this aware of some of the qualities that they have and how to utilize them. But because of all these programs, they've been able to identify how powerful they are. So the men of
yes.
those days couldn't enjoy, let's say that, could not enjoy or could not see that particular part of the women. But that's not the case now. So men are seeing women, in their full potential. They are wondering what's happening here, what's happening here. So this conversation is very essential, and I think everyone would benefit from it, because I strongly believe that once you are able to empower the men to understand how to handle their women, would have a beautiful society to live in. So why did you pick this? What's the interest? What started this whole parenting journey, and why the maid child? You have mentioned why you want to do this, but what happened? How did it come? What happened? And you were like, you know what? I need to do this for parents so that their kids can enjoy it.
So I started out just writing parenting tips or something general. But then, as a journalist, because I'm a journalist, as a journalist,
Mm,
I have seen you read a piece of news where the boy dropout rate from schools is increasing, the number of boys who are being affected by drugs is increasing. And then one time, there's a colleague of mine that actually asked a question randomly: what is happening with the women nowadays? Why don't they want to get married? And someone said, because the men are not ready to commit, and because the men are acting like women. I was like, wait, this is actually what we are getting into. And we are only seeing the start of it. It's going to get worse, because if a man is telling you, what are you bringing on the table? Yet we have been raised to know that the man is the provider, then something is changing. They are seeing women who are earning six-figure salaries while they are not earning that much, and they're saying, why am I struggling when this woman is earning too much? And I'm thinking, look here, there's no problem on who brings how much on the table. It's a partnership. But they're not seeing it that way. They're actually feeling emasculated. And we talk about gender-based violence, and we're only ostracizing the man, but then we forget that this man was raised up this way. He was raised up to know he's in charge, but not how is he supposed to be in charge. He was raised up to know he must provide, but he's seeing his wife having much more than him. So what is he supposed to be providing? She already has it. So I stood up and said, I can't just be talking about parenting as business as usual. Let us talk about parenting this boy. Let us talk about this teenage boy. And also why teenage boy is because it's at that time that they're becoming self-aware. Unfortunately, while the girl is being told, you have to bathe well, you have to ensure your hair is groomed, no one is telling the boy. They're telling him, you will figure yourself out. But he's a child as well, right? How is he supposed to figure himself out unless he's guided? And if he grows up in this laissez-faire world, how is he going to empower his own child, be it girl or boy? So that is where I'm coming from.
Brilliant. I love it. While you were speaking, I was just saying, come to think of it, that is why you have a lot of bitterness, you know, from the end, from the female gender, bitterness from the male gender. And you can tell, I was just listening to you, and I was able to catch something that you can tell, because people are confused. Roles are not well defined, or roles that were
Yes,
defined, from what it was in the past, has changed. And when
yes,
change
Did something happen to Grace's audio? Is it
have
just
not
me?
been put in place properly. Oh, are you there? Okay, so sorry.
I'm here, I'm
So
here.
Please go ahead.
because
You broke up for a
yeah,
while.
so
Sorry.
yeah, because of this change, or several things have changed, and because of this, nobody is not really talking about how we can go about it. So it is very, very important, and I like it. I heard a great grandfather, 87-year-old man, when he was talking. The interview, it was an interview, and he was being asked certain questions, and this 87-year-old man kept referring to his parents, my mom, my dad, my mom. I'm like, my goodness, this man is 87 old. He is 87 years old, and he's still referring to his parents. That's how the
Yeah.
role of parenting is very, very important. So I want you to touch on, before we start talking about the role of the how to empower young boys. Explain to us how significant parenting is, how important parenting is.
Um, Basically, I would say a parent would be the god of a child. Why?
I agree.
This
I
child comes
agree.
into the world, and while they are not blank slates, they have attributes and characteristics and characters and a personality. The parent helps to groom this up. The parent can either quash the child's confidence or grow it. The parent can empower the child to see the good in themselves or actually
Mm.
destroy it. The parent can basically, the parent is the guide of this child, because you see, when they say, I don't know how many minutes, but they say if a child does not have any attachment when they have been born,
for not more than 2 days, I think it should be one day, that child would die. And
Mm.
that child, the most immediate person to give them the attachment is their parent, right? So
Right.
imagine this child is scolded, this child is told you're nothing, this child is told you will amount to nothing, this child is told you're useless. Those
Hey.
are the tenets that this child is going to carry throughout life. And no matter who tells them otherwise, because this thing has been drummed into them for a long time, it becomes part of their DNA, for lack of a better word. So parenting is very important to who we are bringing on board, to who that next generation is going to be like. If I tell my son that you can't amount to anything, it doesn't
Hey.
matter what his teacher tells him. He will always say, but mommy said I'm useless.
Oh.
If I tell my son, you are brilliant, this subject may be giving you a hard time, but you will make it. I kid you not. He will do whatever it takes to live out those words. It's more like that thing in their subconscious telling them, this is who you are, and you're going to live out this. And they will live it out. So, parenting is such an important thing. Because you see the way millennials are behaving, it's because the Gen X knew no better but to shout at us, knew no better than to spank us to submission. They knew no better than to tell us, does money grow on trees?
Mm.
Or to shut us. And so millennials are referred to as the silent generation, a generation that is just there confused. Because I mean, we don't know who we are, we are just living out the negativity our parents were kind enough to transmit to us, and we are only forging ourselves out. Sadly, if we do not work on ourselves as parents, that is exactly what we are going to give. But we have to remember that whoever receives double measure.
Yes.
Like Elisha received from Elijah a double measure. We received a double measure from our parents, and we are getting times two what we received onto our children. And what are we going to put out? A mess. So while
Yeah.
they say that parenting has no manual, we we have a manual from our parents, and passing on that manual to our children. And unfortunately, it's not a good thing if we don't work to unlearn, relearn, and change a few things here and there.
Mm, that is
Okay,
so
over to you.
powerful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, apologies for all the mix up and tech, but we're here and we're having the conversation. I hope you can hear me loudly. I'm outside, so the environment
Yes.
might interfere with the sound. But, thank you for, what you shared and how, you've carried this on your shoulder. I am curious to know, maybe I missed that because my network was going back and forth when Grace asked you, like, why did you come into this place? But I wanted to know if you had a personal story that made you say, you know what, I'd rather not join the people who complain about the boy child, but I'm going to do something about it. So, do you have a personal story? Because I believe you're a boy mom as well, right? You're a boy mom, right? Am I assuming? I'm
Yes,
sure I'm not
yes.
assuming because I've read some of your stories on LinkedIn. About communication, and we'll get to that. But did anything happen in particular that made you, just say, I'm going to take some? Because you know why I ask? I know that the first set of interaction I had with you, you were projecting more your journalist side and your voiceover artistry than the parents coaching. Point you switched or you started to embody more the parental coach and talking about the boy child. Did anything happen in your own personal experience that kind of solidify or reignited that passion to take this path that you're on?
So it may not be one event, but a couple of events. So I have two brothers, and one is a bit calm, I would say, and the other is very headstrong. But so it was easier for the calmer one to turn out, I would say, right. But the headstrong one, there have been a a bit of battles, and I saw my mother beat us to submission. I saw my mother shout at us to submission. And I won't blame her, really, in as much as I detested what she did, but she didn't know any better. But when I looked at that and how things have turned out for my headstrong brother, I was like, maybe, how about if he was nurtured to appreciate himself, if he was listened to, if he was asked, what can we do better? Which was unheard of when we were growing up. I'm thinking he would have turned out better. Maybe he would have understood how to channel his energy in a better way. When I look at my son, he's such a gentle soul. But then when he gets angry, he doesn't speak. Picking from where I came from, I would easily just bash him. And yes, we have had a couple of clashes, but I am learning to ask him what's wrong. Coincidentally, even before I got onto this call, I told him I can see something is not right. And when I get off this call, we're going to have a conversation about what is not right, because you cannot just be acting the way you're acting out of the blue. So for me, the thing is, the attention that we give the girl child should be the same attention we give the boy child. There is nowhere it is written that a boy is born 5 years older than the girl. They're all children, and they should all be nurtured to become the best version they can be. At least let the boy turn out as a lunatic, and you know you did your all. And your all was not beating him into submission. Yes.
That is so powerful, beating into submission. And I feel like it is why, even now, the millennials you talk about, most of us are now just healing from our traumas. And because we didn't know better, we had already started the next generation before we even realized that, I've been traumatized. And so for some of us now, it's like you are healing while you're also now trying to heal, part of the destruction you created already for your children. But it's sad. It's funny, but it's sad that a number of people are still not even aware. They have not come to terms with
Yes.
it that even they are traumatized. They just say that is what it is. That's how I am. My father did not kill me. No child will kill me. I see, there are some adages when I was growing up. It's crazy. They say, it is the Yoruba, they will say, it is in the heart of a child that madness sits. And what we use to kick the madness out is cane. And that's why it's when you say, "Àyà ọmọdé ni wèrè dì sí, pàṣọ la máa fi lè jáde." And that's why, oh my God, when my God rest my dad's soul, every one of you dare not, you just pray that my dad don't get angry and flog you, because whatever he finds to flog you, if that thing does not break or go off his hands, it's not going to stop. So if it is belt, if the belt does not cut, it's not stopping. If it is cane, if the cane does not finish on your body, that the small one that is remaining lifts his hand, he will not stop. That was
Wow.
what it was bad. And but funny enough, it is now that 2020, that we started to go into coaching, that we started to know, like, this is not right, oh. But we used to play about it like, hey, don't let that be cash you. My dad, that if he was from work, once a year, pee pee, every parlor, arrange it there, my parlor. That's like, look at my parlor, see my sitting room, everybody will talking and go inside your room, but we didn't know, they didn't know better. We picked some of those, and we just know that them, they will not listen to you. But this thing you just said now is so powerful. Conversation. And the thing it does for the kids is that it helps them to be able to articulate their emotions. Per time, the people
Yes.
who cannot articulate their emotions are most of the people that also end up being violent, are the people that ends up beating, their partners, and because that's the only way they know how to communicate anger. They don't know that if you are angry, you can say, okay, breathe. What exactly is making you angry? Let's talk about it. They cannot even express the exact thing that is making them angry. The only way they can do it is to lash out. And so, this thing you just said about how you deal with your own son, to say, I can see that this behavior is not normal. Let's talk about it because it's not normal that you be doing this way. And it will get that this time between now that you have on this show and when you go back, you've even given him enough time to start thinking of how he's going to explain the source of the behavior. Do you see? And that's a lot because it's teaching, is learning how to think, is learning how to communicate what he's thinking in a way that would help you see reasons with him. And both of you can now collaborate to create, okay, maybe a solution, or say, is this really good? Do you think it's good? And that's just the beauty of coaching. And I love it. I love it. I love it. So what are some things on your journey so far? And I'm going to keep quiet so that Grace can go on your journey so far on this path of being a parental coach. What are some things that has shocked you the most that you discovered, especially about the boy child? That is like, what, whether it's statistics or is something you observed, from your own experiences. What is something about the boy child that has shocked you the most on your journey so far?
So there was this gentleman that I interviewed as a journalist, and he deals with boys that have not grown up with fathers. And that's another thing. Absentee fatherhood is another big problem. So he shared with me a statistic that I think 2 in 10 homes are led by children. And that statistic, not far from it, is held by UNICEF. And some of these homes are actually led by the boys. But how does a child become a parent to a child before they can even figure out being a child? And for me, that has not gone down well with me. And then there is this other school where I have been given the opportunity to have conversation with their children. That's boys and girls. And there's this one boy that told me he's very angry at his mother's husband. So I found out that's not his father because he's not doing much to provide. The fact that this boy was able to articulate that meant that he was taking on a burden that was bigger than him already, yet he's in school. And so he's saying that on the weekends, he does a bit of this and that. One of the things he was doing was crochet so that he can be able to supplement his mother's income. And I'm thinking, if we have more absentee parents, we are going to have more boys turn into parents before it's their time. Unfortunately, it's going to rob them of their childhood that will catch up with them, and they will not be able to live out a full life. So for me, that was not really an amusing statistic. But then the other thing that I have seen is I was talking to someone and they said, boys don't cry. I have had it before, but being on this journey now as a coach, it hits differently. And I asked myself, so what are the tears there for? Because in the Bible, it doesn't tell us that God gave women tears and men he didn't. So I asked myself, what are the tears for? So if the boys don't show emotions, where do they go? you know? So the boy does not know if he should be angry or not, if he should smile or not. No wonder we have fathers and they say, if your father smiles, it is a miracle. Why should it be? Like for him, he never gets excited. He never gets happy. It can't be. So this thing of boys don't cry, boys don't show emotion is such a sham. and it is making our boys be something like, a cassava stem, which they're not supposed to be, because they are human and they need to understand their emotions so that they can be able to tell that I am feeling like this because of this. And if I don't want to feel that way, I need to do this. And because they don't know how to deal with their emotions, many are going into drugs, many are going into alcoholism. And then we talk about wasted fathers. But we are the ones who are grooming the wasted fathers by not enabling them to express and understand their emotions. So far for me, those two things are very profound.
Wow, brilliant, brilliant. And you know, there's a lot on the mothers, there's a lot on women in terms of take it to the bank and back. The women actually groom the children because they're usually more with the children. If not for anything, for the first 2 years, they would breastfeed the children, right? So it means that women should take the blame. Should they take a chunk of the blame? If no,
No.
what do you think?
So I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across this post that we need to understand the cycles of our sons, in the sense that in the first 5 years, the boy and the mother will be a pod in a pea. Thereafter, it is going to be the boy and the father, I think up to 10 years. And thereafter, it's going to be the boy and his friends, right? So if the mother did not play her role in the first 5 years, there's going to be a problem, because she's going to teach him about bonding, about attachment, about going to groom the values within him, going to groom the softer side of him, because it's there, right? And then thereafter, the father has to take on his part. And if he doesn't show him empathy from a man's side, how to fend for a family, not in the sense that he's going to go and work and come back, but he gets to appreciate the fact that daddy goes to work and comes back, daddy treats mommy like this, daddy takes care of the family like this, then there is going to be a part that's missing. And that is where he is left in the hands of his friends years later, because his friends are just his age mates. They understand him from whichever angle they want to understand him, and will prop his ego in whichever way they do it. And that is where the problem comes, because then the mother and the father have lost their voice, and because they fail to connect when they should have, therefore they cannot say much. The friends are the ones telling him. So it gets us back to the story of Rehoboam. The father didn't have much control, the mother didn't have, and the friends were the ones who led to the downfall. In as much as it had been prophesied, but I mean, prophecy is also riding on who we have grown up to be, right? Because they cannot prophesy to you that you're going to join a gang when you have never been part of a gang, right? So prophecy is also riding with how our character is. So because Solomon and whoever was the mother of Rehoboam didn't do their part, the friend stepped in. And that is how he lost the kingdom. In like manner, if the mother at up to 5 years, the father up to, I think, 10 years or so doesn't do their part, we lose out, and we are all to blame as parents. Equally, I can tell you, for whichever part is missing.
I love it. I love it. Like honestly, playing the blame game is not going to help anyone. But again, that being said, like Gracie said, we have, I don't even know if to call it an epidemic of having more single mothers, and it cuts across people, countries, everywhere. You see a lot of people, a lot of children are being raised only by the mom. And so, like you said, when that part is missing, It tells. But some people have been able to find a way around it, such that they are single mothers, but the child still has this complete cycle that you just spoke about. you know so what do you think would be responsible for that, in your own journey? Like this cycle, talk about the mom part, the nurturing, and then the male figure, and then what do you think would be for the few single moms that have been able to raise almost like a rounded young man?
I would say the thing of single mothers hasn't just started now. Single mothers has been around, but coming in different facets. With our parents, it came with a thought of a man goes out to work and has no interaction with the children. It's the mother. The mother is the one who grooms. In my culture, there's actually a saying, a bad child gives a mother a bad name. So that was one part. Now, because the boys saw that fathers are not supposed to be home, nowadays you hear conversations like, how can you go back home before 10 p.m.? They're going to call you a weak man. So what happens? They go and hang out in bars, they hang out with friends, and never have an interaction with their children. So single mothers are not just the ones that everyone knows are single. They are single mothers with spouses. But they're also single mothers because maybe the husband died or because the man walked out. I mean, that's another thing. Because the boy child, the current fathers were not taught responsibility. Some of them weren't taught responsibility. When they impregnate a girl, they run off because they're like, I can't be the one. And then you ask yourself, but how did she get that pregnancy? It wasn't with a wall, it was with someone. And it could have been just you. So why do you think it's so hard to say, you know what? We don't have much, but let's raise this child in the right way to raise them. So there are very many circumstances. But I think it goes back to intentionality because I actually got a privilege of taking a glimpse into a friend's thesis, and it was looking really about the impact of fathers, of absentee fathers, on the children we have today. And I will tell you, it's not just on the boys, even the girls. The girl's first best friend is the father. And if he's not there, she is going to accept any Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes and just says, I love you. Because the first man didn't tell her he loves her and didn't show her how she should be loved. Yeah. But it goes back, like taking the child through those cycles. It goes back to knowing this is my handicap. What can I do about it? So that is when you cite the right male figures to bring into this boy's life. But that also means that you've also taken time to create friends. Because if you are to yourself, then there's no one who will want to come into your circle because ultimately you are coming to them just in your time of need. How about when you didn't have a need? What was happening? So those men need to be there. And you have to be intentional about knowing their characters because right now we have men who are not men, if you get what I'm saying. So you have to get a man to groom your son, a man who is going to tell him that a man is like this. I remember a friend of mine saying, I've been dating this guy, but he's too girly. He may be nice, but I'm going to dump him. You don't want your son to turn out that way if you are actually serious about raising a man. So that is where it all comes from. It is not easy because you will bump and you will get hurt, but you can make it. Yeah, I'm seeing that statistic in
I
the
love that
statistic
comment.
in the
Put
comments.
it up
Yes,
again.
we
I
have the
love that.
highest number of
Yeah.
youths, and
Wow. In
Remember,
Uganda.
in
very important to
Uganda,
say
they
that
have the
again.
highest number of youth globally. Really? That's news to me.
We are a very youthful country.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, globally, we can say that the chunk of when you're talking statistics, the chunk of the population would usually be youth. So this is not far from the truth. And I mean, what you're saying is what we're discussing is not a child's play. Like it's very, very important because the ills of the society and the things that we see in the society today is traceable to things like this, one parent not being available to handle certain things, parents that are available but they're not doing what they're supposed to do, right? And and all of these things, we can put all the blame, we can blame parents and everything for some things. However, most parents will tell you that they are trying. There's a lot,
Yes.
providing for the family, having to be there emotionally, having to be there. There's a whole lot on the plate of parents. So and they'll tell you parenting is not what you can outsource. They say parenting is not what you can outsource. And because of that, it is Herculean. Most parents will say, look, it is not easy. It is not easy. I try my best. I do all that I can within my powers, but I don't think my effort is paying off as it should. So if there's a parent watching this right now and they're doing all they know how to do, but they're not seeing what they really want to see. What do you have to say to such a parent?
I would say you don't have to do parenting alone. You don't have to. Sadly, in Africa or in the Black communities, coaching is shunned. Why? Because we are also a very good tale bearing society. Someone tells someone this thing today, and then before you know it, it's known 10 houses down the road. But coaching means there's confidentiality, right? Coaching means I am going to hold your hand and I don't know all the answers. We are going to find the answers together. Basically, I'm going to push you to find the answers. They say there is no school for coaching, but there is. What first you learned from your parent. So if you learn from your parent, what is it from your parent that you don't like? That means you also have to be self-aware and be willing to make the change. And then reach out to the available coaches and say, you know what, this and this and this is going on. How can we correct the trajectory? Because you might be doing all you know, but it's like a child. All they know is to find food in the plate and find a way to direct it to the mouth. How they direct it there is a different ball game, right? So now, can we get this parent who is going to teach this child to get the food properly in the right measures, nicely direct it to the mouth without all of it pouring on them? That is what the coach is going to do for you so that you can do it well. I will say you don't have to parent alone, and how you are parented is not the alpha and omega. There's a lot you can change, but also be cognizant of the fact that your generation is not your child's generation. If you keep on saying, my parents' canes didn't kill me, I turned out right, I wish you actually turned out right. You must be willing to change.
I ask that question. I ask it every other day. I ask it that, oh, we did
Yes,
turn out right like this? Really?
we
Really?
did. We have a lot of trauma, we have a lot of
Turn out
wounds.
right. I'm telling you, turn out right that you can't even express yourself correctly. Like you can't
Exactly.
articulate how you're feeling for a time. Are you sure you turned out right?
And what's the definition of right? The home
Yes.
is the manufacturing in psychology. They say that the home is the manufacturing space, and then the society, the community is the product. I mean, it's where the sales and everything, is carried out, so to speak. So if the society is the replica of different homes, how come some societies are doing very well and some societies are not doing very well? That means the
Yes.
manufacturing, the production center is actually, there's something
Faulty.
amiss, there's something not right, and
Yes.
that's why
Yes.
we're having this conversation. Again, if you're just joining us, this is your voice, your impact. We're almost wrapping up, but before we wrap up, we want you to drop your questions if you have questions, and if you want to share some of the things that you on your own you're facing as a parent, even as a son, or as, yes, as a son. We've been talking from the angle of parents. We've not even talked about the boy child and how
Exactly.
they would prefer to be parented, if there's a word like that. So, from your work, do you get to a point where you get to talk to children and parents at the same time, and where some of the children, in this case the boy child, how they are able to tell you as a coach that, look, this is something my parent, this is something my dad or my mom is doing, and this is how it is affecting me. Have you had such a situation? And if yes, how did you handle it?
So I'm still growing in this trade, right? But I've had an opportunity to work with a school where I interact with their with their children. And when a child, the question I have been asking them is, what is that one thing you would want to ask a parent? And that is a blank check, and it allows you to hear very many things. And one thing the one thing that came out very profound was children who are children who are being unable to communicate with their parents in a very productive way, in the sense that the parent has a millennial mindset and the child is looking from a Gen Z perspective. And so they don't connect. And what happens is that the child just shuts down. So what I have been able to tell these children is, you need to find a better way to maybe communicate with your child. Also telling them that, look here, your parent and you understand things from a different wavelength. And because you guys understand things from a different wavelength, it is important that you also calm yourself down, because if you're all high up there, you're not going to get what you need. So how about you calm yourself down, look for a suitable time to tell your parent whatever you need to tell them, and listen. Basically, start from a dialogue perspective rather than I want, right? Because when you start from a dialogue perspective, the parent also mellows. And when they mellow, they can easily listen to what you have to say. And then we can be able to get you sorted faster than you were doing before, when you're like, but daddy, I want this, the school wants this, and this one wants this. We are all fighting, we all want to get ourselves heard, but it's not helping because we are not seeing each other's side of the story. Now, I've been able to talk to this parent who was having an issue with her son, and she said he's so quiet. He's not actually performing well as he used to before. He's not making friends like it was before. So the one question I asked her is, when was the last time you had a conversation with your son? And we had a bit of a silence there. So I told her, I understand. Having a conversation is not something we are used to. We are used to, I tell you, you do, and that is it. So I asked her that she has a conversation with her son from a point of I want to hear you and I want to understand you, not give me answers. And the next time we had a conversation, she's like, Joan, things have changed. I've also understood that I have not been there for my son as I should have been. And so we have lost the connection that we had when he was younger. And she said, I now have hope that things can change. So those have been my
I love
experiences.
it. I love it. And someone is saying, I believe that this conversation should start in the phase of early childhood for the best impact long term. And I understand what you're saying. I think we started off talking about, as kids. Or do you have something to say about that? Did you get the question?
Yeah,
Did you get what it?
yes, starting from childhood is a very good thing. Very good thing because I mean, how you nurture the child makes it easier in the older years. You know, Proverbs
Yeah.
22:8, raise a child in the way that he should grow, and when he gets older, he will not depart from that way.
Yeah.
And it helps greatly because there are some things that you don't have to struggle with. For instance, keeping a routine, managing time, body hygiene, because these are things that you have nurtured from a young age. But
Yeah.
then we cannot lose hope because there are those who didn't know better and are learning now, and maybe the child is 10. I would say you can still do something, but you
Mm.
must be ready to go the long haul. You cannot step in, and because he does not receive your seemingly changed perspective towards life, you give up. You have to keep pushing, you have to keep pushing. But you don't push from, I want you to understand this, push to create a connection. Because when you have
Mm.
a connection, then it's easier to instill the discipline because then the boy will be able to hear you better. The boy will be able to see that you are coming from a loving side rather than from an instructive side.
Brilliant. I mean, we can go on with this conversation because it's something
Yeah.
very deep. It's a huge. It's a very peculiar topic. It's very unique, and I think it's important because, like he's saying, it has to start from the grassroots. I think the grassroots is, but this awareness alone is beautiful because it will create that sense of, okay, because people are talking about it, then it's something to pay attention to. Growing up, like what we were just saying, while we're speaking, it just dawned on me that my parents did not treat us the same way in terms of gender wise. They were they treated the females differently, and they treated the guys differently. And I'm saying to myself, could it be because, of course, physiologically, um in any way you want to put it, we are different. They talk a lot about doing things equally, and I have my reservations to that. I usually say I am a female, I am not a man. And there are certain things that men should do. I say it again and again, and no apologies. So I
Yeah.
need you to shed light, when we're talking about treating them the same way, teaching them the same things and letting them know, certain things. How are we able? Because so now that's my personal opinion. I might be wrong, understanding that guys are totally different from us in all ramification, how they think, how they behave, minus how they are nurtured. Naturally, some things, even physiologically, some things don't even, we can't compare. We
Yeah.
as women, we have more, we have more advantage when it comes to communication because of the physiology, I mean, how they were created, right? So with that said, what do you think should be done so that parents will not be confused that, okay, they said we should treat them the same way, we should teach them the same things, and they're different. So how can you help a parent now to be able to understand what this conversation is about, even though we want them to understand the same things to act, but we want their unique features to stand out as well. So please help us with that.
So the one thing I would start with is, even if there were two girls, they're different because they have different temperaments, they have different personalities, they have different characters. Now, the thing that I was saying, when we say treat them the same, it's a sense that we all have a left and right brain, right? So the conversation of women are more emotional than men, men are more critical thinking than women should not be. It is because we have gone with that flow and therefore not taught our girls to be critical thinkers and not taught our boys that, hey, when you feel hurt, say it, right? So the equal treatment that we are talking about here is avail all the tools. If it is going to school, avail all the tools. The girl should not be getting less or more than the boy, whichever, right? And then the other thing is understand who your child is, because, like I said, even two girls are different. So just understand, how do they learn? If they are visual, please avail the graphs, but also empower their speech side. If they are more hands-on, empower that, but also grow the visual side, right? Basically, all we are saying is they are all children. They all deserve to be nurtured. They all deserve to be groomed. They all deserve to be guided, while putting in mind that they are different and embracing those differences, but not letting them to fall off just because they are different. So if they are good at singing, that doesn't mean they should not attend the class for math. No, just find ways to help them learn math their way. If they are good at geography, but science doesn't work, fine. Empower the geography, but find a way by understanding your child how to enable them understand the science as well. That is what I'm saying.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Talking about critical thinking, problem solving, emotional intelligence, and all these things that you just mentioned. It's not it's a guy thing, it's a female thing,
Yeah,
it's a human thing. That's what I'm getting from this
exactly.
conversation. So
Yes,
when there are certain things that you should equip your children with, especially when those things would help them be better human beings. That's what I am taking from
yes,
this conversation. So
yes,
empower your boy child is the title of today's show, and it is simply we are simply reiterating that those tools that he needs, because these girls are being empowered with critical thinking, problem solving skills, those things that they didn't think, they didn't think was necessary before. Now they've been empowered now, so they have all these tools and they're going for it. Everywhere you see women, yeah, let's go for it, yeah, let's go for it. So guys, I'm like, what's happening all around? What's all this? What's happening? And they're not going as hard as, some of them. Some men are, top notch, they are doing their thing, but these days you find that some men are not going as fast as they should. And that's why we are doing this
yes,
conversation, we are having this conversation. And I believe that someone has gotten something that they would run away with and apply, because at the end of the day we can have all these conversations and we can talk from here to there. As a matter of fact, many people know some of these things. When it comes to the application, That's where,
Yes.
people struggle. So as we wrap up this particular episode, I want you to give like a nugget of, nuggets, what you think can help this particular journey, or can help parents get this whole idea of empowering their boy child, how they can make it, how it can be easier for them, if there's any way you can help with that.
Okay. So the first thing I would say is take time to connect with your son. So oftentimes what I have seen is after 5 years, the connection drops. Take time to connect with your son even past 5 years, so that when he is 25, you can still have that connection. You cannot base on the first 5 years of connection to last you a lifetime. The other thing is we need to discipline our children and not punish them. Why do I say that? Very many times boys are beaten and given harsh conditions when they go wrong, because they are looked at as the ones that can weather the hardness. But when you do that, you're actually giving him a springboard on how to do life. You are instilling that if I beat you, then you can listen. He will do the same to his wife. He will do the same to his children, right? And then you need to also teach this boy how to handle his emotions. He innately has an ego. You need to show him how to control the ego, so that when he is with his peers or later on in life, he's not splashing his ego everywhere. He's actually able to control without controlling, really, right? Like he is in charge without stamping on people's feet, on people's heads. Yeah. But most importantly, as parents, we need to parent ourselves again. Why do I say that? We have a way we were parented. And while we may say we turned out right, we can tell we didn't. We have many traumas, we have many misconceptions. And I learned this from Coach Wendy Ologe, that parenting is about me before my child, because I'm the one disseminating the parenting. The other one is just a recipient. Whatever I give them is what they will take in. And they are simply a reflection of me. So if I am not well parented, I will not parent right. That tells us that we need to get to the sources, like the coaches, like the parenting webinars, so that we can throw out some outdated things, throw out some narcissistic ways of life, so that we can parent our children right. That's what I would say.
Let me clap for you. Yeah,
Oh, and Patsy.
beautiful. Thank you. That was really amazing. We can't thank you enough. Thank you. EJ is saying thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'm saying the same thing. Your voice is definitely going to create impact. I am certain that there's someone that will watch this. If the person is not here live, the person is going to watch it tomorrow. It might be next week. It might be next year. It might be 100 years from today. But certainly it is going to touch someone. And that's what we do here on Your Voice, Your Impact, where we come together, we bring people to use their voices for impact. And today it's been an amazing one, even though we miss our girl. She was in and out, the energetic EJ. But I'm sure next week we'll be here fully and we'll give it to you just the way you see our energy. So I'm very, very happy that we have touched very critical areas in this particular episode, and like we have agreed, we should parent ourselves. Let us parent ourselves. And the journey continues. It never ends, because as we evolve, we learn new things, we trash old things, and we just evolve, and we want to evolve in a way that it will be good for us and the generation that would come through us. Thank you so much, Joan Salmon, for gracing our studio. I'm sure if we call you next time in the future, you're going to come back. Is that right? Are you going to come
Yes,
back,
it is.
because I believe that they'll get to a point where we would, still have to talk about certain things when it comes to empowering the boy child. So thank you so much for everybody that engaged this in this conversation. Professional Minds MEA, you were very, very you were a part of this particular conversation. Thank you so much for joining. And there's another person, just it shows LinkedIn user here. And for all the people that would watch this later, don't forget to drop what you think, drop your experiences, drop what you think might also work, so that we can all learn from each other. This is your voice, your impact. See you next week, Monday. And yes, we are back to our regular show where we would meet every Monday, no Wednesdays this time around. We would meet and see you next week, Wednesday. Have a wonderful celebration. And to our Muslim brothers, Barka, the Salah, we love you. Bye.